Dzień dobry. Welcome to
Hi.
the next episode of the podcast. And with me today, we have the undisputed champion of the Doomsday Cup, one Copid. Welcome.
Hi guys, how we doing? Glad
Uh,
to be here.
and great to have you. So I will say that obviously I had a preference for interviewing the runner-up because he's Danish. You have to have a bit of a nationalism, uh, uh, but I'm very happy to have had you on, and people have been asking a lot about the online tournament, so I thought it would be only natural to have the guy who actually won the tournament on here today and hear his side of the story as well, and how he almost got beaten by Lexi in
Yeah,
the
that was
finals.
close one. Yeah.
But maybe we should just start at the beginning, and maybe you can introduce yourself.
So my name is Igor. People in the internet know me as the Copid, especially in the Discord community. People in Poland also call me like this right now. I'm 27. I'm coming from Poland. It's the city called Bydgoszcz in the center of Poland. It's like 300,000 people, but it's some people say from Poland, especially if you were in the Baltimore, it's like the Baltimore of Poland, if you
Uh-huh.
know what I mean, like the pits of the Poland a little bit. But still, it's a fun city.
How long have you played Flesh and Blood? How did you get into it?
I am playing the Flesh and Blood since last February. I have started at the Everfest pre-release. That was the first event I have attended to. It's the fun story because I wanted to play Magic the Gathering because when I was the kid, when I was like 9 to 10 years old, I played Magic the Gathering a little bit, but when you are the kid, you don't have that much money to play all the tier 0 standard decks and all the stuff. And I have retired from Magic at that year. And then I wanted to get back. I wanted to find a new hobby. And I thought about the TCGs because I played a lot of the Hearthstone, Gwent, all the other guys. like. I really like the card games. And I went to my LGS and they told me that I should screw Magic for the Flesh and Blood. There is this new game called Flesh and Blood, and they will introduce me to the game and show me the game. And they showed me the game. I think I played the first game ever was Katsu or Azalea, something like this. So like the Dragon Shield sleeves. So that was my first heroes I have played. Because the owner of my LGS is the one trick pony of Katsu. He only plays Katsu, and if Katsu goes to the Living Legend format, so I guess that will be the end of the Flesh and Blood in Bydgoszcz because nobody will run it. And I really like the game. I really like how the game is designed, and that's what kept me in the game.
Uh, what's your favorite thing? As like I also played Magic way back. You're a little
Yeah.
younger than me, but like, what's your favorite thing about Flesh and Blood that kind of drew you in? You think?
Uh, no, I mean the randomization is not a big factor in the Flesh and Blood because it's not like in the Magic. I really was pissed in the Magic when you drew your next card and it's a land, and you
Yeah,
drew
yeah,
a land into a land, and it's just not fun at all. And the Flesh and Blood has this pretty nice design where the card can be a card as an action card, a pitch card, a block card. So it's pretty flexible, and you can be really flexible. And all the idea of the pitch stacking is pretty nice that you can see all the deck. And also that's why I play Oldhim because and Guardians at all because I really like to have a control about my deck, and I don't like the randomization. And when I play Oldhim, I am sure I will see all the cards. I am sure that I can pitch stack. and that's what drive me in the games.
Yeah. As a brute player, like I have all the random, all the
Yeah,
random, not
yeah.
knowing what's going to happen at all.
I
Um,
mean, I bought scav skins as well, but I played brute. I really like the design of the brute. It's pretty fun. But I went into my armory with the brute, and I rolled like four times, one roll, and I'm
oh,
like, okay, it's going back to the shelf.
yeah, for sure. And it's a similar story that I have heard. I wanted to go to my first armory with Azalea, but then I slowly started to realize how expensive that deck is to build.
Yeah,
And so I was like, oh, Brute is pretty
pretty cheap.
budget friendly. So I built that and have been playing that. I almost have all the pieces now, but as you say, it's like either you high roll and then you just win a lot, or it's
Or
never.
you lose a lot.
It
Yeah.
doesn't feel like it's even. It's either or.
Yeah. It's like parabolic,
Yeah.
something like that. And when I entered the game, I didn't really look into the cost of the cards yet. I had no idea that the tunic is that expensive and all the legendary. I mean, people told me they are expensive, but I was like, uh, I will buy some boxes. I will open the packs and we'll see how it goes because I like the feeling of the opening packs and
Who
just dig
doesn't? Who
in.
doesn't?
Yeah. And I was fortunate enough that when I went into my first Silt event, it ended up that we played Everfest. So it was like you took like 4 boosters of Everfest and then 3 boosters of any other expansion you wanted. I picked Tales of Aria because it looked the most nice for me. I really like the design of the cards, like all the elemental ice stuff. And I was happy enough to pull out the Heart of Ice from
Oof.
my first
Yes.
event, so it was a pretty nice start for me. And then I bought a couple of boxes. It was fortunate that I could have some legendaries, and then I have just traded for most equipment and most parts of the deck I have today. I have just traded for the cards I have pulled up from the other packs, other expansions. So it was like that.
Nice. Um, so what does I'm interested in what does Flesh and Blood what does the Flesh and Blood scene look like where you're at? Are there a lot of players? Are you able to get sealed product? Because I hear like there's a lot of talk about the shortages now, and I follow the American Reddits, and there are some posts there where it says, "Oh, there is nobody playing Flesh and Blood in my area." What do you feel like the scene is like where you're at?
Yeah, I also have asked some American people, especially, and I was pretty surprised that some local scenes are that small in the United States that sometimes it's hard for them to get even 6 people for the armory to start. So my city is pretty good about it. We run 2 armories per week, and we have around at average we have 10 to 16 people, I would say. In the weekdays, so in the weekdays we have sometimes like 8 people, sometimes 6, but usually in the at least one armory per week we have like 12 to 14 to 16 people. So it's pretty nice. It's pretty competitive.
And since you've been with the game since Everfest, what are you noticing about the game? Is it growing? Is it kind of staying the same? Is like what's the what's the trajectory of Flesh and Blood right now?
So when I started the game, I think there was a pretty big hype about the Everfest at all. That the first paper packs and the new wizard class and the Starvo, and Everfest has pretty good majestics.
Very good Majestics.
So the meta pretty turned into 180 degrees. I mean, in the future, we saw how the meta goes, where only 3 decks were pretty viable, like Starvo, Chain, and Prism. But in that time, I think that the grow of the game was pretty good, because when I have entered the game, with me entered like 6 people. I don't like, from these 6 people, I think 3 are still playing, and then after some like 3 months later, after all this Starvo stuff that people hated, so some people hated, they stopped playing Flesh and Blood because they couldn't play their favorite deck. Like, other decks wasn't that worth to play. I mean, you could play in the casual level, but if you wanted to play competitive, you couldn't bring like Dash or Rhinar or all the other decks, because they were not just that good as the Starvo and all the other decks. So that was a slow decrease of the players, I would say, the base of the players. But now, when I was in the Baltimore, and after in the Dynasty, I would say also the hype wasn't that big. I mean, now Dynasty is getting more more seen. Oh, people are opening more packs because of the Suraya and commands, and the value of the high-end cards is pretty good.
Yeah.
But in the Dynasty, I would say there was a little bit of the stagnation. People didn't like it at the beginning, and now in the Outsiders, I would say the game has another boom, and there is another hype going on, and there is massive amount of players, especially when the Japan came in, and they will have the game at the beginning of the next year, fully supported in the Japan. I see that in the Europe there are massive buyouts for some cards at the card market, and prices of some cards are pretty wild.
Yeah, for sure. That crown of providence is getting pretty spicy.
Yeah, I
Uh,
remember when I had 2 pieces of cold foil, and I remember like I sold them like couple months ago for 230 euros, and now they are like 500, 400. I'm not sure right now what the prices are,
it's
but
getting expensive. Yeah, for sure. Maybe going back to what you said about the meta of when Everfest came out and kind of the meta change, and luckily Stavo transitioned to Living Legends like at a record pace. He was maybe a bit overtuned. After Outsiders has come out, and we will be seeing Oldham and Lysander are going Living Legends soon in Blitz, right? And they will probably also be going into Living Legends in Classic Constructed. How do you see the meta going forward when Oldham and Icelander kind of transition out?
I mean the meta. I mean, I don't know what the new Prism is going to be, what the ability she's going to have, and what will be the new Runeblade hero. But if old him will get into the Living Legend after the calling or the RTN season, I think the meta will be pretty aggroish, I would say. I can't wait to bring out the Dorinthia. I think she will be pretty good in the all the aggro meta, and the meta will be much faster than it is now, because now you have, as you said, the Icelander and the Oldhim to keep the aggro decks in the tight area where they have to plan all the combo turns to one turns where they can combo you and kill you. And when they get into the Living Legend, it will be like more faster meta, and just the big damage will be important in the decks.
So you're planning on, you're going to transition to Dorinthia.
I
That's it.
mean, I always like Guardian players. When I
Yeah.
started, I really like the Oldhim. I didn't know that the Starvo is in the Everfest.
Mm.
So when I watched the brief of the Flesh and Blood, I really like the Oldhim player, Oldhim champion. As I like the slow champions, the control ones, and the big guy with the shield and the hammer. What could be wrong with it? So I went into my first armory. People borrowed me the olden deck, and I didn't know how to play it. I always played time, and all my games were draws because I only blocked and I didn't know how to attack properly with it. But so I am. I mean, I am natural guardian, but also like Dorinthia. She has really fun mechanics to play, and she's really flexible as well. You can, beside the attack reactions, you can play some big attacks or some airstrike coaxes, and you can be pretty flexible how you build your deck. So I like it about her, and she's fun to play. So I might play her. I might switch to Bravo as well. Also, the Katsu is the consideration. So yeah, that's are my choices.
I guess we are waiting a lot to see what also what the Dust to Dawn will bring in terms of it's a supplementary set. Who knows what will? Obviously, we know we're getting more light and shadow support, but who knows what cards else might be there that could shake up the meta.
Yeah,
Um,
totally. We need to wait a little bit.
yeah, just a little bit. So you went to Baltimore. Uh,
Yep, I was.
Take us through it. Like, how did it go? How was the experience? Tell me a bit about it.
So I think I was prepared pretty good uh, from the mechanic side. I think my psychological skills a little bit went down. I started pretty good. I played the Oldham list, the same one I have played into the tournament, the online tournament, and I started pretty good. I went 3-1 in the CC. I have been playing against. First game was Lexi, then it was Viserai, then it was Oldham, and the last game was Lexi, which I lost. So I mean 3-0, and then one lose was a pretty good start. Then there was the draft part. I mean, the outsiders draft is designed like the best draft set in the Flesh and Blood, but still, in my opinion, besides the skill, you still need to be skillful, but as well you need to have some luck with the
For
cards
sure.
to do some great decks or at least a decent decks, because you always, I mean, usually you have this scenario where there's like four assassins in the pot, like two ninjas or three ninjas or five assassin, and usually one ranger. But still, you need to have some good cards to run for assassins, and it's sometimes a little bit, could be a little bit clunky. So you need to have luck a little bit. So my first draft wasn't that good. Uh, I have ended. I have ended up 1-2. I have played Uzuri, but my deck was garbage. I mean, when I build it, I thought it's good, but when I played against other Uzuris or Arachnis, I was like, no, it's not a good deck. They had especially the better cards, and that was a little bit unfortunate. I have played in the my first drafting pot. I was playing against Michael Fang, the winner of the protour, and I lost it to him. So that was my day one. I ended up 4-3, so it was still good because I was qualified for the day two of the Pro Tour. And the day two was, the start was pretty good. I have started the draft with one win. Then I was playing Katsu. I was the only one Katsu in the pot. I had pretty good deck. I could say it was like the constructed deck because I had like five surging strikes, two decent gust wave threads, all the be like water threads. So it was pretty nice deck. I could easily be 3-0, but in one game against Arakri, I made a crucial mistake. I knew that my opponent has the attack reaction, and I should overblock it. But I thought it's a yellow or blue one, so I only blocked with the one card and I lost. By the way, it was the Danish guy, so it
Oh.
was the revenge of the Denmark made by him. It was pretty nice dude. So cheers to him if he's watching.
Do you know what
Uh,
his name was?
no, I only remember that he was from the Aarhus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think there were 3 Danish players at the Pro Tour, and I can't remember all their names. I think it's Torbjørn, Kenny, and Michael.
I mean,
But
I
I'm
could
not for
check
sure.
into my FAP history of
Ah, no
the
worries,
player.
no
Yeah,
worries.
yeah,
They
but
know who they
still,
are, probably.
yeah, but still, cheers to him. He was pretty nice dude.
Yeah, for sure.
And then into Classic Constructed, I was playing first game against Lexi, which I have won. Then I was playing another game against Lexi, which I have lost. It was pretty unfortunate game because if I had, it was similar game to the game I have played at the online tournament. It was pretty close game, and from my point of view, the I could win it if my Heart of Yendal was a little bit faster in the pitch stack. If I would draw it in the first cycle a little bit faster, and I could heal faster that one more life, I could win because I have ended up in the one life, and my opponent had like 4 cards left. So I needed that one more life to stay into the game, but I lost. And then I was playing into Oldham Mirror, and it was also a little bit. I made a mistake there because I could play Pummel. I didn't play it because I went too fast. And then also my opponent shuffled me like my one of the first hands was 2 pulverizes and 2 pummels into the first cycle, so it was unfortunate. And then I knew that I was out from the top 64, so the last game I played against Dromai and I lost. He was like he built his table like a dash a little bit. He played all the dusts for the Viscerakai and Necria, and he just built up, and then he swinged me with 3 big turns, and then I lost.
Yeah, yeah.
So I ended the Pro Tour with the 7-7 score.
Are you? Is that obviously you would like to win, but is that within expectations? Are you happy with that?
I
How is?
mean, my minimum plan was to reach top 64, but still, that was the first that big tournament of mine I have played. So I think I should be happy about it. I prepared pretty good for it, so I think in the future there will be only better tournaments.
Are you going to the calling in Antwerp?
Yep, yep, I am going.
And you're playing Oldham again?
Probably.
Who knows? Let it be a
Yeah, yeah,
surprise.
yeah. Probably I will play.
But like in general, how did you find the tournament in Baltimore? Like the whole turnout and being there with so many people and yeah.
So before I was at the Calling Poland at the Krakow, it was my first tournament. I was playing like 2 weeks back then, and it was in Blitz, but still it was pretty fun. And I thought that wow, that's the huge event. Then I went into the Lille. That was my second calling in life. I mean, I still sucked in the game. I can't say I was good back then. I mean, I'm still learning. I'm not the best in the game, and it was definitely bigger than the calling in the Krakow, but Baltimore was really huge. It was just beyond the expectations. The people that showed up, even there was like 800 people in the calling and around 500 people in the Pro Tour, but still there were so many people trading, not even playing, just trading, going into the vendors, talking with the other people. So it was pretty fun.
Yeah. I can imagine. My one of my dreams is to go at some point. Probably not to play. I don't know if I'll ever have what it takes to play, but go there and create content and stuff. That would be amazing. But maybe this would be a good segue to uh, the online tournament, the Doomsday Cup 1. I have a few questions related to that from the Discord and the YouTube community. But maybe how was it playing in an online tournament as opposed to like an in-person thing?
Mm, I mean, I really like it. I mean, I always like to play in the physical way, but I thought it will be a nice practice before the Pro Tour. And I really like the Talishar idea, because there are some tournaments like you need to have the webcam set up and you play against the other opponent in the webcams. So I didn't have the setup to play like this. So when I saw there is the first Talishar tournament, I was pretty happy about it and really wanted to get into it and play it. So I highly recommend you guys to sign up for another edition of it.
And of course, that's the perfect time to ask you the question, which was actually, this is Staxwell asking this question. His question is, are you coming back to defend your title as the champion?
Yeah, I will try. I mean, I'm scared about all that Lexis, but I will try.
I'm sure people will be happy about it, and I think it was like a great, from a spectator's point of view. It was great to watch, and kind of like the ability to spectate the different games, the speed and pace with. Of course, it was single elimination, so it's kind of like it can be over quite quickly when you enter, but that is, from a spectator's point of view, that's kind of nice, because then, I mean, best out of 3 Oldhim games, that's a long time watching games. But I thought it was really cool. And I have a question from Riddler Man.
I could just say about
Yeah,
what you said.
go.
Uh, that the only thing I didn't like was like some people had buys. I was lucky enough to don't have any buys, so I played all the games. And I would really like to thanks all the guys who watched the matches, because when I got back after the matches and watched the video, the vote from the live tournament, I saw that in general people are like, "Oh, we hate old him mirrors. They are so boring," and all the bad words that people say about the old mirrors. But I really have seen that people really like it, and they were pretty hyped about the matches, and the matches itself that were pretty intense, I would say. So I would like to thanks to all the guys who like the matches I have played.
Yeah, for sure. And in general, it's my feeling that most of the people in Staxwell's Discord, they're very nice and very supportive. Um, so, what was your favorite moment of the tournament? That's Riddler Man Gaming's question for you.
I mean, my favorite parts was all the matches, especially because I really like. I am pretty competitive guy, and when I played, especially all the mirrors, they were pretty intense from my point of view. I was pretty emotional about it, and I was really tryharding those matches. So after the games, I was like, "Damn, that was the good games. That the games were amazing, and I really like to play another games at that big level in the future."
Yeah. And I think I don't think there's any stopping Staxwell from I hear there's already another tournament on the way. There's no announced date or anything, but as far as I hear, there's a lot of buzz around it. And you won a case of Outsiders, right?
Yep, I
Was
did.
Did you get any good hits? Did you open it?
Yeah, I opened it. I opened it at the venue, some of the boxes.
Yeah.
And then it was the funny thing because then the food came in
Yeah.
into the opening ceremony, so everybody went into the food and nobody cared about the boxes. So I have stopped then, and then I have went to pick up my package with the playmat and the promo codes, all the stuff, and I forgot the last two boxes. I left them in the venue, so I went back into the hotel. Fortunately, it was like 500 meters from the convention center, and I am like, where are my boxes? I'm looking around, I can see them, and then I just run out from the hotel to get back to the venue. Fortunately, they were still there, and funny enough, one of the boxes I have left have had the extended art shroud for the assassin.
Ooh, nice.
So this was the biggest hit I have had.
Maybe a question for you, which is something I wonder about because I do some of the market watch videos sometimes. Why do you think that the legendaries, or most of the legendaries from Outsiders, are so cheap? For me, like when I go to the local armory and online, I see, for example, I see more and more Azalea players run Trench, and I see both Lexi and Azalea run like Quiver of Rustling Leaves, and like they are so cheap. They're like 20-30 euros, and usually we're seeing like playable legendaries in rainbow foil to be like 75 to 100 euros. What's your speculation on? Do you think it's the whole collation thing that we may have gotten a bit more legendaries, or do people not just care?
I think that the reason is there is much more legendaries and there is much more product, and people just open much more product. You can compare it in the uprising, right? There is Icelander with which she plays Coronet pick in most of the matchups, and it's like 20 euros legendary right now in the rainbow foil. So I guess it's all about the demand and how many product is out there, and people just don't care. They don't know if the legendary is powerful enough. I mean, still, if you play the Azalea or Lexi, the main pick for you would be the tunic over the trench. So that's why the trench is not that valuable. And about the quivers, I saw that the quiver of the rusting leaves is going up because at the beginning it was like 10 cents, the majestic one, and now it's like 3 euros, 4 euros. But I have no idea, to be honest, why the legendary quiver is that cheap, as it's the first legendary quiver and it's decent. I mean, I'm not a ranger player, so probably the ranger people will know why it's that cheap, if the cost is too big for the free cards or what's the reason behind it. But still, I think it's like people don't care right now. But when the other expansions will come in the future, because from my point of view, the game is designed in the way that some cards come in the present expansions, but they have the bigger impact in the next expansions.
Yeah.
And people don't really care about it. So that's how it works, I would say. And after some buyouts, the people are going crazy. Like there is this FOMO thing. Oh, I need that legendary,
Yeah,
and
for
I need
sure.
to buy it. Yeah, and then the prices goes up.
But I think a good example of what you just said is the Sandscour Great Bow, right? When it came out, it was like, okay, an aim counter, big whoop. Like we don't have any powerful arrows
Yeah,
that
yeah,
need the aim counters, and then now, like every arrow has a like an aim counter mechanic, and it's just very good that you not have to pay that extra resource to get that aim counter, and you can use it to filter the top of your deck,
I
which is
mean,
pretty cool.
even the better example is the Deadeye. When the Dynasty came out, it's the +3 Majestic, which when you put the aim counter on the
At
arrow,
discards, yeah.
you discard a card. And I remember that when the Dynasty came in, this Majestic cost like €1.50, and it's like right now it's €10.
Yeah, for sure. It's
Yeah, so from my point of view, if you guys want to speculate on the market, you should keep eye on the cards which are worthless right now. They doesn't make sense, but they are probably designed in the way that in the future the cards will be pretty important.
so merciless meat axe is next on the chopping block.
I mean, maybe.
I'm just seeing merciless meat axe and what is that other called? Spilled blood that gives all your
Yeah,
axe
yeah, yeah,
attacks.
that dominate.
There must be something, but maybe we should jump to. So this is a segment that I always like because, like I also said in the last interview with Beltola, I'm a relatively new player and I love to learn from people that are better than me. And I think, obviously, I don't know too much about who listens to this or watches this, but it's always good to have tips from good players. And obviously, if you're going to the Pro Tour, you're a very good player. So maybe if we could start at the kind of low end, is that what advice would you give to new players who are getting into the game, who want to get better as quickly as possible?
I think if you are new to the game, the first thing you should do is like learn how to lose and how you can improve from your loses, because it's like if you are new in something, you're never gonna win that much unless you are the natural talent, but it's like 1% of the community. Then the best case scenario would be the good idea to learn how to lose and not to get disappointed about the losses, but uh, just to take the good things from the losses, just to see how the game went, what you could do better, what you couldn't do better, what was the misplace, what was just the bad luck of you. And you never should tell things like, oh, it was all about the deck. I have lost because the deck wasn't drawing that good. I mean, in some case scenario, I mean, you could have the point, but in most of the cases, it's all about you, not the deck. If you play good, you can probably still make some good plays and still play it at least in the decent way. And you should always not only think about your deck, but as well think about your opponent, because your opponent can have the same situation as you. He can also have the bad draws, and he could also do some mistakes. So you can still, even if you have bad draws and the game is not going that way, there still don't need to be much done for you. If opponent makes some crucial mistakes, you can still win the game, even if the start of the game wasn't that good for you.
Uh, I think maybe one more like beginner question is because it's all about, it's not all about, but it's a lot about also like knowing how to play the individual matchup against the opposing hero. What advice would you give to new players to kind of learn what the different matchups are about? For example, like Viserai as a Rhino player, it's a horrible matchup, right? But but kind of getting to learn the whole like plethora of other heroes and learning what to do. What's your advice on how to skill up in that area?
I mean, we are fortunate enough that we have Talisha right now, so it's easy to practice against all the decks. and you can make the notes in the February. You have all the statistics. You can see how is your deck doing against other decks. But every deck has a bad matchup. In my case, the worst one is the Lexi, I would say still. And still you can't win all. There is no deck which is the best against every deck. There is always this one deck which can beat you, and still you can try to play it. You can try the different patterns, but in some case scenario, the best scenario is to avoid the deck you don't want to play. You just avoid the players. The good player will avoid the worst matchups.
And it makes sense. So maybe going from that to a little bit of like a higher level. So if you are like a player who's doing good at nationals, you may be going to like bigger and bigger events. What advice would you give for someone who's at the level where they might be getting close to having access to the Pro Tour? Like, how do you take your game to the next level?
I mean, from my point of view right now, when you know how to play, the biggest game is still in your head. You need to be pretty calm about it. If you are not sure about something, you can always ask the opponent or ask the judge. So if you are going into the big tournament like calling or even the RTNs or ProQuest, where you want to play for the big prizes, you want to be in the top 8, I would recommend to calm your mind and just to watch for every move, just to focus at the game and don't play too fast, and announce to the player at what state of the game you are currently in, because there is some rule sharking going in, and there are some players who will just wait to catch you, or when you just miscommunicate with them. For example, when you want to, there is that case from my point of view as an old team player, where, for example, the 5 plays. I know that he plays it in the instant phase. There is this instant phase before reactions after the block, and he plays Art of War. But if you don't communicate it that you are at the instant phase, I could do ice reaction into your Art of War. And if you want to banish and you have only one card in the hand, you will put the card at the top of your deck. So from my point of view, and in the other side, when I want to play the Command and Conquer, and I want to take the resource from the Tunic, and I have the one resource left, and want to pummel you, if if I won't communicate to my opponent that we are still in the instance, if I play against all him, for example, then we are in the reaction step, and he could just ice me before I take the Tunic resource, and my pummel will go at the top of the deck. So from my point of view, you always need to communicate to your opponent what you want to do at this point, and if you are not sure about anything, just call the judge.
It's the point you're making kind of also goes into kind of like playing slow, right? To take your time and say, okay, advancing to the next phase. Okay, we're in the instant phase. Do you want to do
Yeah, I mean,
anything? Yeah,
you still need to play dynamically, not to time out or to draw,
yeah, yeah.
but there is still some time to think about the game state and what you want to do, and you just need to be focused on the game and just see what is going on the stack and on the combat chain, and just have it in the mind what you want to do in your next turn, or the other phase.
Awesome. I think that's some very good tips. And I think we are slowly nearing the end. First, I'd like to say dziękuję. Thanks for
Proszę bardzo.
thanks for coming on. If people want to follow you on social media or Discord or whatever, where can people find you?
Oh, I mean, I don't have any social. I mean, I have my private social media,
Don't
but
don't give that out if you don't want.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
of course.
But if anybody wants to talk to me or play with me, or just train, you can always find me at the Discord. I am at the Staxwell Discord, and the other Discord, the Polish Flesh and Blood Discourse, and in the general Flesh and Blood, the biggest Discord. So that's where you can find me. But I'm still not that good player to have any public social media and to tell what my thoughts are about the game. I am still the small guy playing the game and having fun.
That's fine. That's not for everyone. But again, I just want to say thank you very much for coming on. It was a pleasure. I learned a lot. I'm constantly learning, just like you are, but at another level. And I just want to say to the people who watched this episode today, please hit the like button. If you want to leave any comments, please do so below, and hit the subscribe button. And see you guys in the next video.